Okay, welcome back guys. Thanks for sticking around. This is part 3. Part 1 was mostly the disassembly of the front end. Part 2 was a little more disassembly, cutting of the rear cross member. Part 3 that was part 2. Part 3 should be putting everything together. I did do some alterations after completing the truck, and I'll go over some of the alterations that I did here. Sorry, the camera's a little movie. So yeah, and then part 4 is going to be the rear, what I did for the rear with the Alcan springs. Oh boy, sorry, trying to hold this thing together. I did add a spacer, but I'll go over that later. Anyway, so yeah, hope you guys like part 3. Part 4 is coming up, and part 5, and then my whole total reasoning for getting rough country versus zone, BDS, bulletproof, and all those other guys. All right, see you guys on the next one. Okay, so after fighting with the differential and putting one bolt in the rear that you can see there to the left, and maybe 1 or 2 of the original factory diff brackets there, you're gonna go back over to the other side and the instructions say 22 millimeter, but I really don't think they know what they're talking about. But yes, this is the 3.5 inch 9/16 bolts. We're gonna insert the sleeve in the middle and the bushings. I put some anti-seize, kind of like how the guys on Victory 4x4 did. It needs to go in that direction, that orientation, and it will go there to the front member and here to the rear cross member. All right, so I'll show you what that looks like when I'm done with that. Okay, so everything is torqued down, and I used Loctite where I needed to, and that would allow the bolts to get the proper torque specs. Lubricated bolt at least. So the next thing I decided to do, the instructions say to put back the stock control arms connected to the upper and lower brackets. Now, if yours are like mine, and I guarantee they are, rusted, what I did was took my little Dremel here, the Dremel, got these from Amazon. Ow. So I put it on the end of the Dremel bit and Dremeled all the rust out, and then it came clean. And then I also Dremeled whatever rust was here. But before you put it back, I'm gonna anti-seize the life out of these things. The anti-seize there, and that should protect it for, oh, let's see, another what, 5 to 10 years, maybe longer. All right, something I thought that might be helpful to Dremel out the inside of your control arms. Okay, so after the rear cross member, front cross member, and both driver and passenger differential drop down brackets are torqued down, it says next to install the drop down bracket for the sway bar. This is only if you're going to run the coilovers, the vertex like I am. Then you need to install the drop down bracket with the supplied 10 millimeter that goes up, and then you reuse the stock one. Currently I am on the passenger side putting in the vertex coilovers, and then we'll get started on the next phase. Okay, so let's see here. We did the sway bar drop down bracket. Skip this step because I put in the coilovers. Tighten the bottom, I tighten the top of the coilovers. This is kind of silly. So if you look here, use 11/32 drill bit and the bump stop bracket as a guide to drill the new holes. Now the bolts that you're going to be putting in here are 3/8, but you're going to drill an 11/32 hole. Somebody's math is a little off. Anyway, One good thing that Rough Country does is they provide steering stop brackets here that reuse. There's like a little bracket, and you reuse the stock, the knuckle bolts to go back in. Unlike some of the others that you have to weld in. I don't know if this is better or worse, who knows, but it's just a nice convenient thing, not to have to grab the welder out and start torching things. So okay, time to put in the new knuckle. We're ready for the knuckle, and then we'll see what's next. Alright, so the coilovers are in. Next step is to mount the upper control arm bump stops. That's going to be a lot of fun. We have to drill 2 holes and use self-threading screws provided in the kit. Alright, so let's get on that project next. Okay, so here's a little note. This is the bottom of the lower control arm, and the knuckle will bolt onto here. But first you need to put the steering stops on, and these are the ones I said that are bolt on from underneath, just like that. But good old Rough Country, well, now it fits. See that hole where the factory bolt is gonna go? It did not. I had to grind the heck out of this thing. I had to take out about 3/16 of an inch. So yeah, I'm assuming I'm gonna have to do that to both of them, but it is what it is, right? It's rough with Rough Country.